We are excited to say the NFL season officially kicks off tomorrow. And on Sunday, the NFL on CBS schedule features 7 games depending on where you live. But the start of the football season also means fantasy football season. Now, I like to think that I'm pretty good at this, but there are some serious competitors out there in leagues across the country. Our own Skyler Henry is the reigning champ of his league. He walks us through how you too can humiliate your friends in a fun way, of course.
For football fans, it's hard to beat the excitement of the opening kickoff and the high-paced, high-intensity action that follows on the field. This all means football season is back.
So is fantasy football.
Who's your mid-round gem?
It's more popular than ever, with about 39 million people playing fantasy football in the country in 2022.
We have 3 quarterbacks being drafted.
And its popularity has spun off a number of shows and podcasts chock full of advice on matchups, strategy, and drafts.
The most important player in fantasy is not necessarily the most important player in real life. The people who are drafting and
Adam Azer of CBS Sports is host of the Fantasy Football Today podcast and CBS Sports HQ show.
Usually a lineup on CBS, for example, you can do any lineup you want. You can customize it. I would say 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, tight end, 1 flex, and a kicker and a DST, which is a team's defense.
CBS Sports lets players stack their squad with 14 players total, 9 starters and 5 on the bench.
What's the biggest mistake you think people make?
Drafting DSTs too early and drafting quarterbacks too early. I'm taking quarterbacks earlier than I usually do this year because I think it's a little bit top heavy, but you just have to understand the best depth in fantasy football is at the quarterback position. You are going to get some players like Geno Smith, Daniel Jones, and Aaron Rodgers, maybe Jared Goff, that have really good years.
We've seen a lot of 400, 500-yard performances by quarterbacks now, which I assume means more points. How has that translated in terms of fantasy football?
We have a lot more passing. When I started first playing fantasy football, guys like LaDainian Tomlinson were scoring 20-plus touchdowns. They were by far the most valuable players in fantasy football. This year, Justin Jefferson is the consensus #1, and that is crazy.
But before the strategy or the trash talk, you need a team name. Gayle's Kings, Tony's Titans, the Burleson Brigade, or like my crew, the Sky Club.
Once you have your plan, let's talk about the league you're in. It matters.
This is a great way to stay in contact with everybody over the years, even if it's just a little bit of trash talking.
We have a sitting congressman from New York. We have a couple of hedge fund guys. We have another Broadway guy.
Currently in a Broadway show right now.
Currently in Book of Mormon.
Yep.
What happens when a Broadway actor, a Jell-O shot magnate, and a real estate pro walk into a bar?
I just had bad luck.
They talk fantasy football. On any given Sunday, Thursday, or Monday, New York's Penn 6 bar is packed with Buffalo Bills fans. This day, it's a few members of the Stupid Good Fantasy Football League.
Who came up with that?
Micah and I did. So we spent about 3 weeks going over every possible rule setting, scoring setting to come up with the absolute goodest and stupidest league settings we could come up with. The bet was...
The league came together in 2012.
And who's the reigning champ in this league?
It's great to talk about myself. I have the highest winning percentage in the league right now.
The crew's draft can get, well, interesting, with members picking players both in person and virtually.
I feel great about myself right now. I was backstage of one of my shows once, and they did the draft during one of my Broadway shows on purpose because they know how talented I am at fantasy football. So I had to come down off stage, do my draft, and go back on stage and sing some songs. The most wonderful time of the year.
Do we have to hear him sing?
As you can imagine, on draft night, there's a lot of camaraderie, but also no shortage of jabs.
Yeah. There's a lot of time for hugs and kisses, and that night is not tonight. Tonight is purely about who's going to get the better player and who goes home sad. I don't want to go home sad tonight.
So remember, draft the best players you can. Remember to check those lineups throughout the season. And most importantly, have fun.
The Sky Club sounds like it's going to be a pretty good club.
Yes, it does.
Gayle King, though, she's walked away to make her picks.
That's right, she's doing a draft right now. Draft Patrick Mahomes, Gayle.
That's good
Okay,
advice.
there you go. All right, so the NFL on CBS kicks off this Sunday. I'm not sure if you heard, we got J.J. Watt joining the show. That is right here on CBS and on Paramount+.